The morning started like any other. The sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and pink. Birds chirped in the trees, and people went about their daily routines. In a small observatory near Flagstaff, Arizona, astronomer Dr. Emily Dawson was checking data from the night's observations. She had spent years studying stars, galaxies, and the mysteries of space, but nothing could have prepared her for what she was about to see. As she reviewed images captured by one of the telescopes, something unusual caught her eye. Near Jupiter, there was a faint cluster of lights that didn't belong to any known celestial object. At first, she thought it might be a glitch or a piece of space debris, but when she zoomed in, her heart skipped a beat. The lights were moving in perfect formation, too organized to be random rocks or ice chunks floating in space. They were ships, dozens of them, and they were heading toward Earth. Emily immediately called her colleague, Sam Patel, who worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. "Sam, you need to look at this," she said, her voice trembling slightly. She sent him the coordinates and waited anxiously while he cross-checked the data. After a few minutes, Sam called back. "You're right," he said, his tone serious. "This isn't natural. Whatever these are, they're artificial." News of the discovery spread quickly through scientific circles. Within hours, governments around the world were alerted. Panic began to ripple through global leadership as military officials scrambled to assess the threat. No one knew whether the approaching fleet was friendly or hostile. All they knew was that Earth was no longer alone in the universe. In Washington, D.C., President Laura Matthews was woken up in the middle of the night by an urgent phone call from her chief of staff. By sunrise, she was seated in the Situation Room, surrounded by advisors and experts trying to make sense of the situation. Among them was Lieutenant Daniel Carter, a calm and methodical man in his early 40s who had served in the military for over 2 decades. Known for his strategic mind, he was tasked with helping devise a response plan. "This changes everything," President Matthews said, looking around the table. Her face was pale but determined. "We don't know their intentions, but we can't afford to sit back and wait." Daniel nodded. "Ma'am, our priority should be defense. If they mean us harm, we need to prepare for the worst. But if they're peaceful, we'll still need to protect ourselves until we understand their motives." Meanwhile, ordinary citizens were waking up to breaking news alerts flashing across their phones and TVs. Images of the alien fleet dominated every channel, accompanied by frantic commentary from reporters and scientists alike. Social media exploded with speculation, fear, and disbelief. Some people dismissed the reports as hoaxes, while others rushed to stockpile food and supplies. Schools closed, businesses shut down, and streets filled with anxious crowds trying to figure out what to do next. In Los Angeles, Rachel Monroe, a high school history teacher, turned on the TV after hearing her students talk excitedly about spaceships. She froze when she saw the footage. Her mind raced as she tried to process what it meant, not just for her but for everyone. When her students arrived in class later that morning, they were buzzing with questions. "Ms. Monroe, do you think aliens are real?" one boy asked, eagerly. Another girl chimed in, "What if they attack us?" Rachel forced herself to stay calm. She wasn't sure how to answer them, so she decided to focus on facts. "Right now we don't know much," she said, keeping her voice steady. "But remember, humans have faced challenges before, and we've always found ways to adapt." Deep down, though, she felt uneasy. Something about the way those ships moved, their precision and purpose, made her stomach churn. Back in the Situation Room, tensions were mounting. Military leaders argued over whether to launch preemptive strikes against the fleet while diplomats urged caution. "If we fire first, we risk starting a war we can't win," warned Secretary of State Linda Chen. "But if we wait too long, we might lose the chance to defend ourselves," countered General Robert Hayes. Dr. Emily Dawson joined the meeting via video call, explaining what little she knew about the alien vessels. "From what we've observed, these ships are incredibly advanced," she said. "Their propulsion systems are unlike anything we've ever seen. We don't even know how they're powered." "Can we communicate with them?" President Matthews asked. We've tried sending radio signals, but so far there's been no response, Emily replied. It's possible they're using technology, beyond our understanding, or maybe they simply don't want to talk. The uncertainty weighed heavily on everyone in the room. Humanity had dreamed of meeting intelligent life beyond Earth for centuries, but now that it was happening, fear overshadowed curiosity. What did the aliens want? Why were they coming here? And most importantly, how would humanity respond as the day wore on? The alien fleet continued its steady approach. Telescopes tracked their trajectory, estimating they would reach Earth's orbit within 3 days. Governments declared states of emergency, mobilizing armies and activating defense systems. Airports were shut down, and flights grounded as radar operators struggled to monitor both the skies and outer space. In New York City, firefighter Jack Ryan was called into work early. His station buzzed with activity as crews prepared for potential disasters. Jack had always prided himself on staying cool under pressure, but this time was different. I signed up to fight fires, not aliens, he joked nervously to his partner Mike Sullivan. Mike laughed weakly, but neither of them felt reassured. Across the ocean, British Prime Minister Andrew Bennett addressed the nation in a televised speech. This is a moment that will define our generation, he said solemnly. We must stand united, not just as a country, but as a species. Together, we will face whatever comes our way. Despite the growing fear, acts of kindness began to emerge. Neighbors helped each other board up windows, volunteers distributed food and water to shelters, and strangers offered comfort to those overwhelmed by anxiety. Even in the darkest moments, humanity showed glimpses of hope. By the end of the day, the alien fleet had crossed the orbit of Mars. Scientists calculated that they would arrive sooner than expected, perhaps in less than 48 hours. The clock was ticking, and the world held its breath, waiting to see what the next day would bring. Daniel Carter stayed late in the Situation Room, poring over maps and strategy plans. He knew that humanity's survival might depend on the decisions made in the coming hours. As he stared at the glowing screens displaying the alien fleet's path, he couldn't help but wonder. Were they facing invaders bent on destruction, or explorers seeking refuge? Either way, Earth had no choice but to prepare for the unknown. Rachel Monroe lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. Outside her window, the city lights flickered faint times, reminding her of the distant glow of the alien ships. She thought about her students, her family, and all the lives hanging in the balance. For the first time in her life, she truly understood the fragility of existence. Tomorrow would be a new day. But what kind of day remained uncertain? The second day began with a heavy silence. The alien fleet had crossed the orbit of Mars and was now closer to Earth than ever before. People around the world woke up to the same question. Would today be the day the aliens made contact or attacked? News channels broadcast nonstop updates, showing grainy images of the ships as they moved steadily through space. Scientists worked tirelessly to analyze their movements, but answers were scarce. In Washington, D.C., President Laura Matthews and her team gathered once again in the Situation Room. Lieutenant Daniel Carter stood at the front of the room, pointing to a large screen displaying the alien fleet's trajectory. They're accelerating, he said, his voice calm but serious. If they maintain this speed, they'll reach Earth's atmosphere by tomorrow morning. What are our options? President Matthews asked, leaning forward in her chair. Her face showed signs of exhaustion, but her determination hadn't wavered. Daniel hesitated for a moment before replying. We've prepared defensive measures, but we need to think beyond brute force. If these beings are advanced enough to travel across space, they'll likely see through any direct attacks. We should focus on communication first. Try to establish dialogue before resorting to violence. Dr. Emily Dawson nodded in agreement. She had spent the night reviewing data sent from observatories worldwide. I think Daniel's right, she said. Our best chance is to show them we're intelligent and willing to cooperate. Aggression might only provoke them. But what if they're already planning an attack? General Robert Hayes interrupted, his tone sharp. We can't afford to sit back and wait for them to make the first move." The room fell silent as everyone considered the risks. Finally, Secretary of State Linda Chen spoke up. "Let's take a middle ground. We'll continue trying to communicate while preparing for the worst. If we detect any hostile actions, we'll respond immediately." With that decision made, teams sprang into action. Military units positioned themselves near major cities, ready to defend against potential strikes. Engineers worked around the clock to modify existing weapon systems, hoping to find something capable of countering alien technology. Meanwhile, linguists and scientists collaborated to craft a message that could bridge the gap between species. At NASA's headquarters, Sam Patel led a group of programmers attempting to decode the faint signals emitted by the alien ships. Though fragmented and difficult to interpret, the patterns hinted at some form of language or code. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," Sam admitted to Dr. Emily Dawson during a quick break. "But if we can crack it, we might be able to send them a message they understand." Back in Los Angeles, Rachel Monroe tried to keep things normal for her students despite the chaos outside. Schools were officially closed, but many parents brought their children to class anyway, seeking safety in numbers. Rachel used the time to teach about resilience and unity, drawing examples from history. "No matter how tough things get, people always find ways to come together," she told her students. "That's what makes us strong." Her words seemed to calm the kids, but inside, Rachel felt anything but reassured. Every time she glanced out the window, she half expected to see strange lights descending from the sky. When the school's emergency radio crackled to life with news of increased military activity, she couldn't help but feel a knot tighten in her stomach. In New York City, firefighter Jack Ryan and his crew remained on high alert. Fires broke out sporadically throughout the city, not caused by aliens but by panicked citizens accidentally starting blazes in their haste to prepare for disaster. Jack worked tirelessly alongside his team, putting out flames and reassuring frightened residents. "Stay calm," he kept telling people. "We don't know what's coming yet, so let's not lose our heads." Despite his brave exterior, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that something catastrophic was imminent. He called his wife, Sarah, during a rare break. "How are you holding up?" he asked, his voice softening. "We're okay," she replied, though her tone betrayed her fear. "Just promise me you'll be careful." "I will," Jack said, even though he wasn't sure he could keep that promise. As evening approached, the alien fleet entered Earth's orbit. The ships didn't descend immediately. Instead, they hovered ominously above the planet, casting eerie shadows across continents. Observatories captured clearer images, revealing intricate designs etched into their metallic surfaces. Some speculated that the patterns held meaning, perhaps even clues to their purpose. Then, without warning, the first attack came. It started with a flash of light brighter than the sun. Moments later, energy beams rained down on several major cities, obliterating buildings and sending shockwaves rippling through the air. In New York, Jack and his crew barely escaped as one such beam struck just blocks away. The ground shook violently, throwing debris in all directions. Cars flipped over, windows shattered, and screams filled the streets. "Get everyone to safety," Jack shouted, helping a young boy climb out of a collapsed building. Smoke choked the air, making it hard to breathe. Despite the chaos, Jack refused to give up. He knew that every second counted. Similar scenes unfolded in other parts of the world. London, Tokyo, Sydney, all suffered devastating blows. Governments scrambled to coordinate evacuations, but the scale of destruction overwhelmed emergency services. Communication networks faltered under the strain, leaving many isolated and terrified. In Washington, D.C., President Matthews watched the unfolding catastrophe with horror. Reports poured in from every corner of the globe, each more grim than the last. "We have to fight back," she declared, her voice firm despite the tears in her eyes. "If we don't, there won't be anything left to save." Daniel Carter stepped forward, his mind racing. "Ma'am, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work." He explained his plan: unmanned drones equipped with experimental EMP, electromagnetic pulse technology, designed to disable electronic systems. If they could target the alien ship's shields, they might create an opening for counterattacks. President Matthews gave the order to proceed. Engineers and technicians worked feverishly to adapt the drones for space deployment. Back at NASA, Sam Patel stayed glued to his computer, fine-tuning the targeting algorithms. "This has to be perfect," he muttered to himself. "One mistake, and we're done." While preparations continued, ordinary citizens did what they could to survive. In rural areas, farmers opened their barns to shelter displaced families. In cities, volunteers formed makeshift aid stations, distributing food and medical supplies. Even in the darkest moments, acts of courage and compassion shone through. Rachel Monroe found herself thrust into a leadership role when her school became a temporary refuge for dozens of families. She organized shifts for teachers and parents to stand guard, ensuring everyone stayed safe. At night, she sat with the children, reading stories and singing songs to distract them from the nightmare unfolding outside. By dawn, the modified drones were ready. Pilots stationed miles below launched them into space, guiding them remotely toward the alien fleet. Tension gripped command centers as operators held their breath, waiting for the drones to reach their targets. When the EMP pulses hit, flashes of light erupted from several alien ships. For a brief moment, hope surged among those watching. Cheers echoed through control rooms as damaged vessels drifted aimlessly, their shields seemingly disabled. But the celebration was short-lived. The remaining alien ships retaliated with terrifying efficiency. More energy beams lashed out, destroying satellites and crippling global communication networks. Power grids failed, plunging entire regions into darkness. Panic spread as people realized how vulnerable they truly were. In the aftermath of the strike, Daniel Carter stared at the screens, his jaw clenched. They had managed to hurt the invaders, but at great cost. "We bought ourselves some time," he said quietly. "But this isn't over." President Matthews nodded, her expression resolute. "Then we keep fighting. No matter what happens, we don't give up." Across the planet, humanity clung to that same resolve. Though battered and bruised, they refused to surrender. The battle had only begun, and though the odds seemed insurmountable, the human spirit burned brightly against the encroaching darkness. The aftermath of the alien attack left Earth in chaos. Cities lay in ruins and millions were displaced. Power outages stretched across continents, leaving people in darkness. Communication networks had collapsed, cutting off governments from their citizens and nations from one another. It was as if the world had been plunged into a new kind of Stone Age, where survival depended on grit, ingenuity, and sheer determination. In Washington, D.C., President Laura Matthews addressed what remained of her cabinet. The White House itself had survived the initial strikes, but the mood inside was somber. Candles flickered on the table, casting long shadows on the walls. "We've lost so much," she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "But we can't afford to lose hope. Humanity has faced challenges before and will face this one too." Lieutenant Daniel Carter stood nearby, studying maps illuminated by flashlight beams. His mind raced as he tried to piece together a strategy. The EMP drones had damaged some of the alien ships, but the remaining fleet was still intact, and more dangerous than ever. "Our advantage is decentralization," he explained. "They're targeting cities and infrastructure, but they don't know how to fight a scattered resistance. If we can organize small groups to hit them where it hurts, we might stand a chance." Dr. Emily Dawson nodded in agreement. She had spent the night analyzing fragments of data recovered from destroyed alien drones. Though battered and incomplete, the information hinted at patterns that could unlock their language or technology. "If we can figure out how they think," she said, "we might find a way to negotiate, or at least predict their next move." While leaders debated strategies, ordinary people began taking matters into their own hands. In rural areas far from the destruction, communities banded together to protect themselves. Farmers shared food, mechanics repaired old vehicles for transport, and hunters provided meat for those in need. One such group formed in the small town of Millfield, Ohio, led by Ben Harper, a grizzled farmer with a heart of steel. Ben had always been skeptical of big cities and government programs, preferring the quiet life of farming. But when the alien Attack came. He didn't hesitate to step up. Using his knowledge of the land, he organized patrols to watch for enemy activity and set up hidden supply caches. His leadership inspired others to join him, including Rachel Monroe, who had fled Los Angeles after her school became unsafe. Rachel arrived in Millfield with 2 children she'd promised to protect, 10-year-old Lily and 12-year-old Max. Their parents had gone missing during the evacuation, and Rachel refused to abandon them. When she met Ben, she saw a man burdened by responsibility but driven by a deep sense of duty. "You're welcome here," he told her simply. "We look out for each other." Rachel quickly proved her worth. Her teaching background made her an asset in organizing lessons for the children sheltering in the community. More importantly, she used her knowledge of urban layouts to help plan escape routes if the aliens targeted nearby towns. Slowly, trust grew between her and Ben, forming the foundation of a partnership neither of them expected. Meanwhile, in underground bunkers around the world, scientists worked tirelessly to decipher the alien signals. At NASA's secure facility, Sam Patel and his team pored over reams of data, searching for patterns or codes. Their breakthrough came when linguist Claire Foster noticed something unusual, a sequence of symbols repeated across multiple transmissions. "It's almost like grammar," she said excitedly. "If I'm right, these aren't random bursts of energy. They're trying to communicate." Sam stared at the screen, his eyes widening. "If we can decode this, we might be able to send them a message back." The discovery reignited hope among the scientific community. For days, Claire and her colleagues worked nonstop, translating bits of the alien language into human terms. The process was painstaking, but eventually they pieced together a simple phrase: "We are here." It wasn't much, but it was enough to confirm that communication was possible. President Matthews authorized a bold plan, sending a manned spacecraft carrying a recorded message directly toward the largest alien vessel. The mission would require someone brave enough to risk everything, knowing full well that failure meant death. Air Force pilot Chris Bennett volunteered without hesitation. Chris was a quiet man in his mid-30s, known for his calm demeanor under pressure. He had flown countless missions, but none compared to this one. As he prepared for launch, he thought about his wife and young daughter, wondering if he'd ever see them again. Still, he pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the task ahead. "This isn't just for me," he told himself. "It's for everyone." The spacecraft, named Odyssey, launched under cover of darkness. Its engines roared to life, carrying Chris toward the alien mothership. Back on Earth, millions watched anxiously as live feeds captured every moment of the journey. In Millfield, Ben and Rachel gathered with others around a portable TV powered by a generator. Despite the static-filled picture, the tension in the room was palpable. As Odyssey approached the alien fleet, Chris activated the recording prepared by Claire Foster. The message was simple, yet profound. "We are not your enemy. We seek understanding." He transmitted it repeatedly, hoping the aliens would respond. For several agonizing minutes, nothing happened. Then, to everyone's astonishment, the alien ships adjusted their positions. A bright light emanated from the mothership, bathing Odyssey in its glow. Chris held his breath, unsure whether he was about to be vaporized or welcomed. To his relief and disbelief, a response came through his headset. It wasn't words exactly, but a series of tones and pulses that matched the rhythm of Claire's translation. Back on Earth, cheers erupted in command centers and living rooms alike. Humanity had finally made contact. Over the next few hours, scientists worked feverishly to interpret the alien response. Through Claire's efforts, they learned shocking truths. The aliens hadn't come to conquer Earth, but to escape their dying star system. Miscommunication and fear had escalated tensions, leading to unintended violence. Both sides realized the need for cooperation rather than conflict. President Matthews addressed the world via radio broadcasts patched together from surviving transmitters. "Today marks a turning point," she said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion etched on her face. "We have discovered that these beings are not our enemies. Like us, they are fighting for survival. Together, We must find a way forward. Under her leadership, Earth's governments agreed to share resources and technology to help the stranded aliens repair their ships. In return, the aliens offered advanced knowledge that promised to revolutionize medicine, energy production, and space travel. It was a fragile peace built on mutual trust and understanding. In Millfield, Ben and Rachel listened to the announcement with mixed emotions. Relief washed over them, but they knew recovery wouldn't happen overnight. Cities needed rebuilding, families reunited, and wounds healed. Still, there was hope, a fragile, precious thing that reminded them why humanity had endured for so long. Rachel looked at Lily and Max, now sleeping soundly in a corner of the barn-turned shelter. She smiled faintly, thinking about the future. Maybe, just maybe, this crisis would lead to something better, not just for Earth, but for all intelligent life in the universe. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky with soft hues of orange and pink, people around the world stepped outside to greet the new day. The scars of battle remained, but so did the resilience of the human spirit. Together, they had faced the unknown and emerged stronger for it. The fragile peace between humanity and the alien fleet marked the beginning of a new chapter. Both sides had suffered losses, but now they worked together to heal the wounds of war. The aliens, whose species called themselves the Veil, shared their story with humanity through painstaking translations by Claire Foster and her team. Their home star system was collapsing, forcing them to flee in search of a new place to live. Earth had seemed like a potential refuge, but misunderstandings turned what could have been a peaceful encounter into conflict. On Earth, governments and communities rallied to help the Veil repair their damaged ships. Engineers and scientists collaborated with the aliens, learning as much from them as they taught. The Veil's technology was far beyond anything humans had ever seen, and their willingness to share it sparked a wave of innovation. Solar energy systems became more efficient, medical treatments advanced, and space travel took a giant leap forward. For the first time, humanity looked beyond its own planet, dreaming of exploring the stars. In Washington, D.C., President Laura Matthews addressed the United Nations, urging global unity in this unprecedented partnership. "This is not just an opportunity for recovery," she said. "It's a chance to redefine who we are as a species. Together we can build a future that benefits all of us, human and Veil alike." Lieutenant Daniel Carter played a key role in overseeing the collaboration. He coordinated efforts between military units, civilian organizations, and the Veil representatives. Though wary at first, he grew to respect their intelligence and determination. One Veil leader, known as Kale, communicated through a translator, device that emitted soft tones and flashes of light. Kale's calm demeanor reminded Daniel of someone who had seen too much yet still believed in hope. Meanwhile, in Millfield, Ohio, life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as possible. Ben Harper's community continued to thrive, thanks in part to resources provided by the government and the Veil. Food supplies stabilized, and temporary shelters were replaced with sturdier structures. Rachel Monroe found herself taking on a new role as an educator, not just for children, but also for adults eager to learn about the Veil and their ways. She organized workshops where people gathered to discuss everything from alien technology to cultural exchange. Lily and Max, the two children Rachel had vowed to protect, adapted remarkably well to the changes. They often asked questions about the Veil, their curiosity outweighing any fear. "Do you think they'll stay here forever?" Max asked one evening as they sat around a campfire. Rachel smiled softly. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I do know that they've given us a chance to be better than we were before. That's something worth holding on to." Across the world, stories of resilience and cooperation spread. In New York City, firefighter Jack Ryan helped clear debris and rebuild neighborhoods destroyed during the attacks. His crew worked alongside Veil engineers, using their advanced tools to speed up reconstruction. Though hesitant at first, Jack came to admire the aliens' precision and dedication. "They're not so different from us," he told his wife Sarah during a rare phone call. "They just want a place to call home." At NASA's headquarters, Sam Patel and Dr. Emily Dawson marveled at the breakthroughs achieved through collaboration. The Veil shared knowledge about faster-than-light travel, opening doors to possibilities once thought impossible. Scientists began designing spacecraft capable of reaching distant star systems, while others focused on creating sustainable habitats for both humans and Veil. It was a monumental task, but one fueled by optimism. Claire Foster remained at the forefront of communication efforts, refining the translation devices and deepening humanity's understanding of the Veil. Her work earned her international recognition, though she remained humble. Language is more than words, she often said. It's about connection, and right now we need that more than ever. As weeks turned into months, Earth began to recover. Cities rose from the ashes, powered by clean energy solutions inspired by Veil technology. Farmers adopted new methods to grow crops in harsh conditions, ensuring food security for generations to come. Schools incorporated lessons about the Veil into their curriculums, teaching students the importance of empathy and cooperation. But challenges remained. Not everyone welcomed the Veil with open arms. Some feared their presence, accusing them of ulterior motives or exploiting Earth's resources. Protests erupted in several countries, demanding stricter oversight of the partnership. Governments responded by forming committees to address concerns and ensure transparency. Lieutenant Daniel Carter emphasized the need for patience. Change is hard, he said during a press conference. But if we let fear guide us, we'll lose everything we've gained. Despite these tensions, progress continued. The repaired Veil ships prepared for departure, carrying not only their original crew, but also a small group of human representatives chosen to explore the universe alongside them. Among them was Air Force pilot Chris Bennett, whose bravery had paved the way for peace. As he boarded the Veil mothership, he felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. "This isn't goodbye," he told his family over video call. "It's just the beginning." President Matthews watched the launch from a secure facility, her eyes glistening with tears. "Today we step into the unknown together," she said in a televised speech. "Not as separate beings, but as partners united by a shared destiny." For Rachel Monroe, standing in Millfield with Ben and the children, the moment felt surreal. The sky lit up as the Veil ships ascended, leaving trails of shimmering light behind them. Lily clutched Rachel's hand tightly, her eyes wide with wonder. "Do you think they'll come back?" she whispered. Rachel squeezed her hand gently. "I think they already have," she replied. "They're part of us now, just like we're part of them." As the ships disappeared into the vastness of space, humanity looked upward with renewed purpose. The scars of the past would always remain, reminders of the cost of misunderstanding. But they also served as a testament to resilience and the power of unity. Earth had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. In the years that followed, humanity embraced its role as a member of the galactic community. New alliances formed, and old divisions faded. Children grew up learning about the Veil not as invaders but as friends who had shown them the stars. Teachers like Rachel inspired young minds to dream big, while leaders like Daniel Carter and President Matthews ensured those dreams became reality. Though the journey ahead would be long and uncertain, humanity faced it with courage and hope. For the first time, Earth wasn't alone, and together, humans and Veil stepped boldly into a future full of endless possibilities. The years that followed the departure of the Veil fleet marked a new era for humanity. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined before the alien arrival. The scars of the conflict were still visible: ruined cities, empty neighborhoods, and families forever altered by loss. But they were overshadowed by the promise of what lay ahead. Humanity had stepped out of isolation and into the vast unknown, driven by lessons learned from their brief but transformative encounter with the Veil in Millfield, Ohio. Life continued to evolve. Ben Harper's community had grown into a thriving hub of innovation and cooperation. What started as a small group of survivors had become a model for sustainable living, blending human ingenuity with Veil technology. Solar panels powered homes, advanced water filtration systems provided clean drinking water, and crops flourished in fields enhanced by alien farming techniques. Ben often joked that he'd gone from being a simple farmer to running what felt like a mini space colony. Rachel Monroe remained at the heart of the community, teaching not just children, but adults eager to learn about the universe beyond Earth. Her classroom expanded beyond four walls, moving outdoors where students could study the stars through telescopes gifted by the Veil. "Every night is a lesson," she told her class one evening as they gazed at the constellations. "The sky reminds us how much there is to discover and how far we've come." Lily and Max, now teenagers, had grown into curious and confident young people. They dreamed of joining the next wave of explorers heading into space, inspired by stories of Chris Bennett and the human representatives traveling with the Veil. "Imagine seeing another planet up close," Max said one day, his eyes lighting up. "It's like stepping into a dream." Rachel smiled, remembering how fearful they had been during the early days of the invasion. "Dreams can become reality if you work hard enough," she replied. "But never forget, they're built on teamwork, not just individual effort." Meanwhile, across the globe, nations worked together to rebuild and prepare for humanity's role in the galactic community. New cities rose from the ashes of old ones, designed with sustainability and resilience in mind. Skyscrapers gleamed with solar panels, roads hummed with electric vehicles, and public spaces buzzed with excitement over future possibilities. Governments formed the Global Unity Council, GUC, an international body dedicated to ensuring peace and collaboration both on Earth and beyond. Lieutenant Daniel Carter played a pivotal role in shaping the GUC's policies. After retiring from active military service, he transitioned into diplomacy, serving as Earth's liaison to the Veil ambassadors who remained behind to assist with recovery efforts. Though initially skeptical of working so closely with aliens, Daniel grew to admire their dedication to harmony and progress. "They don't see borders or divisions like we do," he explained during a town hall meeting. "To them, every being is part of a greater whole. It's something we should strive for too." Dr. Emily Dawson and Sam Patel continued their groundbreaking research, collaborating with Veil scientists to unlock new technologies. Their work led to breakthroughs in medicine, energy production, and environmental restoration. Diseases once thought incurable became manageable, polluted rivers ran clear again, and deserts bloomed with greenery. For the first time in centuries, Earth began to heal itself. Claire Foster, meanwhile, focused on deepening communication between humans and Veil. Her translation devices evolved into universal communicators capable of bridging language barriers across species. Schools incorporated these tools into their curriculums, teaching students not only about the Veil, but also about the importance of understanding others. "Language isn't just about words," Claire reminded her audience during a TED Talk-style presentation. "It's about connection, and connection is the foundation of trust." Despite the progress, challenges persisted. Not everyone embraced the changes brought by the Veil. Some feared losing their cultural identity in the face of rapid globalization. Others worried that humanity was becoming too dependent on alien technology, arguing that self-reliance should remain a priority. Protests erupted sporadically, demanding stricter regulations on Veil influence. Leaders like Daniel Carter and President Matthews worked tirelessly to address these concerns, emphasizing transparency and inclusivity. "We're building a new world together," President Matthews said during a global summit. "But it won't be perfect overnight. Patience, dialogue, and mutual respect will guide us forward." As Earth prepared for its next leap into space, the first interstellar mission launched under joint human-Veil leadership. Piloted by Chris Bennett, the spacecraft Odyssey 2 carried a diverse crew of scientists, engineers, and diplomats tasked with exploring nearby star systems. Its goal was twofold: to find resources that could benefit both species and to establish diplomatic ties with other intelligent civilizations. Back on Earth, millions watched the launch live, holding their breath. As the ship ascended into orbit, in Millfield, Rachel gathered her students around a large screen set up in the town square. When the engines roared to life and Odyssey the Sound disappeared into the heavens, cheers erupted. Tears streamed down Rachel's face as she hugged Lily and Max tightly. "This is history," she whispered, "and you're witnessing it." For Chris Bennett, commanding Odyssey 2 was both exhilarating and humbling. He spent hours marveling at the stars outside his window, knowing he was among the first humans to travel beyond the solar system. His crew included members of the Veil, whose quiet wisdom complemented the humans' bold curiosity. Together, they navigated uncharted territory, sharing knowledge and forging bonds stronger than any language barrier. Months into the journey, Odyssey Descend discovered a habitable exoplanet. Orbiting a distant star, its atmosphere supported life, and its surface teemed with lush vegetation and flowing rivers. The discovery sent shockwaves of excitement back to Earth. Scientists speculated that this planet could serve as a second home for humanity, or even a meeting ground for multiple species. President Matthews addressed the world once more, her voice filled with emotion. Today we stand on the brink of a new frontier. This planet represents hope, not just for us, but for all intelligent life. Let us approach it with care, respect, and unity. Preparations began immediately for colonization efforts, guided by principles of sustainability and cooperation. Engineers designed modular habitats capable of adapting to alien environments, while ecologists studied the planet's ecosystems to ensure minimal disruption. Diplomats drafted agreements outlining shared responsibilities between humans and Veil, ensuring that neither species dominated the other. As plans unfolded, Earth celebrated its achievements. Festivals sprang up worldwide, honoring the partnership between humans and Veil. Music, art, and literature reflected this new chapter, blending traditions from both species into vibrant expressions of unity. In Millfield, Ben organized a harvest festival featuring dishes made with ingredients grown using Veil methods. "This is our future," he declared, raising a glass of sparkling cider. "Together, we're unstoppable." Rachel looked around at the smiling faces, feeling a sense of pride she hadn't known was possible after everything they'd endured. Humanity had faced its greatest trial and emerged stronger than ever. The road ahead would be long and uncertain, but it was paved with hope, courage, and the belief that anything was possible when people worked together. Underneath the starlit sky, Rachel joined Lily and Max in releasing lanterns into the air. Each one carried a message written by members of the community, dreams, wishes, and promises for the future. As the lanterns drifted upward, Rachel whispered her own wish. "May we always remember what brought us here, and never stop reaching for the stars." And so humanity stepped boldly into the cosmos, carrying the lessons of the past and the hopes of generations yet to come.